Okay, let's get started. So this week, we're starting content architecture. I think we have spoken about brand voice and brand tone. And one of the things that should stay with you from that class is that brand voice is synonymous to brand personality. Meaning, if this brand was a person, how would he sound like, right? Who would he be, right? So brand voice, brand personality. That in fact, the simplest way to simplify brand voice is by thinking brand personality. You understand? And we try to explain the fact that there's a difference between the tone and the voice. There's a difference between the tone and the voice. The voice stays the same, and the personality, the message stays the same, but the tone can change depending on context. And by now, I expect that this past week, a lot of us should have been able to go and do like a form of audits of the brands we are working with to see, the things we've been posting. And, one question I like to ask is, can someone go to your social media page? Can someone go to your social media page and look at the content you have there and easily be able to say, this is what this company does. These are the products they have. These are their core values. This is who they are. Now, if someone goes to your social media page or your website, for example, and the person still needs to contact maybe the customer service to explain what the brand does or to get more information, right? Then the social media is not doing a good job. I need you to understand that. I need you to understand that. In fact, that's one of the tests that Brainiac should help you solve. If you can run a random test and say, go through, maybe you've connected your socials, right? Go through our socials and audit it and tell me if from the content we have, if you can understand our identity, our product, our services, our core values, right? Anyone that goes to your social media page, if the person spends 3 to 5 minutes going through your content, the person should be able to tell what your brand is. What is your message? What does this brand do? You know, Key information about the brand. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, if you've gone over the brand voice class, right, this is something you should be able to audit and fix it as soon as possible. Do you understand my point? So this week we're going to be looking at content architecture. We can't finish the slide today, definitely. So I'm not going to try and finish the slide today. We still have Saturday, right? We are looking at content architecture and also the content studio. So that means that the content architecture class is going to lead us to the content studio part of Brainiac. And we're going to be looking at how to create content, we might not look at the practicality of creating video content, how to shoot video content. No, 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 no. That's not what we're going to look at. We're going to look at the things that come together to make a good content, right? And we're going to be focusing on that. So in this course, we're going to be looking at content pillars, the content operating system, different content formats, series and franchises, editorial calendar design, right? Content studio. We're going to look at the content studio on Brainiac and content batching and workflow efficiency. I sent a video to our class a couple of weeks ago. I think that was 2 weeks ago from this guy, Alex Omozi. And, one of the things that he mentioned sorry, I think I have drawn something on my screen. One of the things that he mentioned in that video is the fact that, sorry, excuse me. Okay, one of the things that he mentioned in that video is the fact that you should, he said in that video that they were doing about was it 5,000 content per week across their social media pages? I think it was about 5,000 content per week across their social media pages, right? That's one of these he mentioned. And I took that to mention that it's very important that you set up a framework that can do something like that. And what they are simply doing is experimentation. And we're going to be looking at that even further, right? So let's start with the first one, content pillars, right? Content pillars. Now, content pillars, content operating system. Right? One of the key questions that should be in your mind is, whose turn is it? Now I'm going to explain this later. Whose turn is it? Not what should I post today? A lot of times, what we think about is what should I post today? Right? We have not posted anything over the past. We've not posted anything over the past 1 week. Okay, let's try and post something, right? But the truth is, we need to build a system. Most top organizations, social media brands, social media companies, social media teams build a system. There is a system for content creation. It's not haphazard. I'll give you some of the burnouts I felt, right? In whenever I'm managing a brand, right, I get frustrated when, take for example, we need to post something and I have sent the calendar to the clients and we are taking, for example, forever to review, or creatives are taking so long that it's the day that I need the content that the creative is coming out. That means I can't be proactive. We can't run enough experiments, right? So there's a part of this that comes with, that deals with you being able to manage a team of people, right? Or a team of agents, any one of the two. So the first thing you want to have in your mind is, for me to build a consistent content system, or rather a consistent content workflow, I need to try and build a system. Content that is built purely on inspiration cannot scale, right? Meaning you think about, this is how I feel, or this is the trend, or I'll go over what computers are posting to come up with something. You can't scale content like that. It can work for a week, work for a short while, but the truth is that you will definitely see inconsistent patterns. You will definitely see inconsistent patterns because you need to understand the fact that when content is sporadic, meaning that there is no structure around it, right? Definitely, right? There is definitely going to be burnout because then you will get to the point of repetitive content. Why? Because you are not, there is no well-oiled machine. There's no structure to produce it. It's just like when you have a factory. The reason why it's called a factory is that there's an assembly line somewhere and things are done in patterns. Do you understand my point? And the reason for that is to maintain a certain standard, a certain quality. The moment there's a problem in the assembly line, you know exactly where to fix, what to fix. But when there is no system, there is no structure, there's no mechanism to the content creation, you won't know exactly what to fix when things get broken. What a content operating system does is this: it replaces the what should I post today with a repeatable structure where you have the pillars, the formats, and a calendar that tells you what is due so that creativity then goes into execution. You understand my point? I remember when I was managing a personal brand for someone in real estate. I think I've mentioned this example before, right? When we came up with some content ideas, right? In fact, that was even before AI. One of the things we always try to do is to make sure that the content is ready at least 2 weeks before the due date. So that way, we are at least 2 weeks ahead of time. At least that's the worst case scenario. At least 2 weeks ahead of time. So it's not the day that the creative came. I might be inside the traffic, and then the client will call. Oh, I have approved the creative. Let's post it. No, I'm inside the traffic, or I'm driving, or I can't even post anything. And then the client is getting angry. Now, why have you not posted? But guess what? We just got the creative that very day. I'm sure that many of us that are in social media management have experienced this before. If you have experienced this before, type 111. You have experienced this before, type 111. Clients delayed in feedback, right? Clients delayed in feedback, or creative guys delayed in doing the designs. And then you are unavailable to post. But you are the one that took the blame. You have experienced this before, type 111. Yeah, exactly. You understand my point? So we're going to be looking for, looking at how exactly to put, structures in place to avoid, this type of scenario. You understand my point? So by the end of this class, what you should be able to do is to define what your content pillars are for your brand, right? 3 to 5 recurring themes tied to your ICP. Don't forget, everything we learned, they're coming together now, right? Your content pillars should be based on the interest of your ICP, right? Explain what, the operating system mindset, why it replaces the daily, inspiration chasing, and also distinguish between strong pillars from weak ones. That means that content pillars can change. Yeah, please, I kid you not. In fact, your content pillars should change. Now, what do I mean by this? If you are experimenting enough, you would know which content pillars are working and which ones are not working based on your KPI architecture. Are you seeing how the whole thing is coming together? You have your KPI architecture, right? These are the metrics we are trying to measure: likes, comments, saves, shares. This is the metric we are expecting on this content. I'm still going to talk about the money spending part when it comes to ads. These are the metrics that we are expecting, right, for this XYZ content. Now, based on these metrics, right, these are the content pillars. So when we post maybe 10 posts, maybe we have five content pillars, for example, and we generate 2 posts for each. We should be able to compare those metrics against the content pillars to look at which content pillars are giving us the most engagement, which content pillars are giving us the most saves, right? Or which content pillars, the people like the most. So I'm not thinking about the content itself. I'm thinking about the pillar. Because if the pillar produces the content, if the content does not work, the content itself is not the problem. The pillar is the problem. Think of content pillars like this. It is the framework that your content type, your content format would stand on. It's just like the pillar of a house. Do you understand my point? It's just like the pillar of a house. Now, what is a content pillar? A content pillar is a recurring theme that everything you post falls under. It's not a random idea, but a category tied to what your ICP wants. Don't forget I mentioned interest. We spoke about ICP in module 1. What your positioning claims, the white space you found in your competitive analysis. Most brands need about 3 to 5 pillars. Fewer and when you have fewer than 3 to 5, content becomes repetitive. Are we together? When you have lesser than, maybe you have 2 pillars, for example, your content will get repetitive. You won't have enough room for experimentation. Now, notice this. What it also means is the more pillars you have, the more content you have. That means you'll be able to think wide. I usually advise that people start with between 5 to 8. Now, this is also subject to your client's approval. If you are managing for a client, managing for a brand, you should always have the period of experimentation. Now we're going to have 5 to 8 content pillars, right? That's 5 to 8 content themes, right? Your pillars can be topics. You understand what I'm saying? 5 to 8. And we're going to create content based on these 5 to 8 and watch it for, let's say you're creating a content plan, a content strategy, social media strategy for Q3. That is, the 3rd quarter of 2026. You have your pillars. You will use your month 1, which is July, which is almost over. I'll just give you an idea now. You can use your month 1 or 2 weeks in your month 1 or whatever your plan is to test 5 to 8 pillars and weed it down to 3 to 5. Meaning we started with 5 to 8. We noticed that people are not really responding to this, right? That's your experiment framework right there. That's your experiment framework. So the idea is, okay, by middle of July or middle of first week of August, we should have been able to identify which content pillars are working and which ones are not working. And we focus on that for Q3. It's the same thing with sales. Let's say you want to, in your content pillars, you can have sales offers. That means you're going to be creating content relating to product sale offers, right? So, that is how to frame it. That is how to frame, for lack of better word. Do you understand? Now, your content pillar should be able to answer one question. What does our audience come to us for specifically? For example, educational content. That can be a pillar. fun and games, that can be a pillar. Do you think your audience really like the Happy New Week message? Do you understand my point? Or do they come to us for inspirational content, inspirational quotes? These are some of the most popular content pillars out there. Happy New Week, Happy New Month. Today is your day. Greetings and seasonalities. They are the most popular. Are we together? For example, there's also a pillar called festivities, seasonalities and festivities. This is when you create content, seasonal content that are relating. Now, these are general content pillars that every brand should have. Do you understand? But the direction of the content can then be different. You understand? So you want to have 5 to 8 for experimentation, and then you weed it down to 3 to 5. That okay, we've tested 5 to 8. We're going to weed it down, based on this KPI architecture, we'll weed it down to 3 to 5 content. Are we together? So, don't worry. So, what I meant by whose turn it is, not what do I put. Now, once pillar exists, content planning becomes rotation, not a blank page. Instead of starting at an empty calendar wondering what to make, you ask, which pillar is due next? Which pillar is due next? Meaning, okay, we've created content for this pillar. What is the next pillar? You understand my point? Now, without a system, you will be thinking, what should I post every day? But with an operating system, right, you will be thinking, is it an educational pillar day? Meaning, okay, our theme for today or for every Tuesday is educational content. So we're going to create content. Every Tuesday we would have educational content up. You understand my point? So it gives you direction, not guesswork. And with this, you can hand over that same system, that same architecture to someone else. So take, for example, one of the reasons why handing over is very difficult for most brands, for most companies, is because there was no structure to hand over. There was no documentation to hand over. Are we together? Now, what are strong pillars versus weak pillars? Let's try and differentiate what is a strong pillar and what is a weak pillar. Weak pillars are vague. They are vague categories that could belong to any brand. Are we together? For example, tips. Don't forget I mentioned this earlier, right? You can't build on general pillars. You can't build on general pillars. So you have something like tips. Anybody can pick up tips. But when you now have ingredient transparency, now it could be specific to that brand's positioning. Are we together? And audience needs. When you say tips, it's just too generic. Inspiration. Anybody can, pick up inspiration. But when you craft it as behind the process, inspiration can mean inspirational coach. Are we together? Inspirational coach. Behind the process means you are very specific. You are trying to take the audience through. If it's for a manufacturing company, behind the process would mean, for example, how we arrive at your product, the hygiene, the everything. If it's for let's say for Brainiac, for example, our behind the process would mean, for example, before we create a feature, what is the process? The feedback we get from clients, those are, it's more of a workflow. Or we move from ideation to brainstorming, from brainstorming to development to quality assurance, from quality assurance to testing, from testing to live. Now, that is very specific to what we do. Are we together? But inspiration is very broad. It could be anything. You understand my point? But behind the process can be specific to your brand. So you want to try and make sure that your content pillars are specific. That means that, and the way you know it's specific is that the outcome is specific. The type of content you will be creating with this pillar is specific. It's not something that is left to the mind to guess. When someone hears the pillar, you can immediately tell what that kind of content, what the content would be. When you hear tips, many things can come to your mind. Are we together? Many content ideas can come to your mind. It's broad. So you don't want your pillars to be too broad. That same way, if Brenda gives you a pillar that is too broad, you will know You can easily tell, okay, this is too broad, it's not specific to our brand. I need you to create something more specific. Do you understand my point? That is why it is important for you to understand um for you to understand what content pillars are, how to spot weak ones from strong pillars. Are we together? Okay, so the next point, content formats, series, and franchises. But before I go into this, does anyone have any question about what I just taught? You have a question about what I just taught, type 111, and then you can raise your hand to ask the question. Type 111 and then unmute yourself. Or just unmute yourself and ask. If you don't have any question, type 222 so I can proceed. No questions, just type 222. That means you understand what I just taught. Please, let's respond. Let's respond. Okay, Madam Christine understands. Who else? You understand what I just taught about content pillars, how to identify a strong content pillar against a weak content pillar. Please type 222. You understand it? You don't have any question. Type 222. I need at least about 4 or 5 people to respond, please. I've only gotten one response. I need response before I can proceed. Okay, type 2. Okay, 222. Mr. Olumide understands. Thank you. Who else? I need 2 more. I need 2 more. I need 2 more. Come on, I need 2 more. Come on, we're about 13 on this class now. I need 2 more persons to let me know that they understand. If you don't understand, please ask question now. You don't understand, please ask question now. Okay. So that I don't waste time, I'm just going to proceed because we've already used about 50 minutes on the class. So let's proceed. Okay, so content formats, series, and franchises. So this is just to give your audience something to come back for. So we're going to look at content formats. All right, so not every filler has the same format. You need to understand that. You can use this as a golden rule, right? The fact that you have 8 pillars does not mean, or in fact, if all your 8 pillars, right, have the same content format, that's a lazy approach. Very lazy approach. Are we together? So that means content format should be shared across your content pillars. Content format should be shared across your content. Sorry, content format here should be shared across your content pillars. Are we together? So now, what does this mean? Reels and short form videos suit processes. That is, we're talking about process. You can't describe the process effectively. You can try to use carousels, but videos do more justice to things like that when you're talking about processes. Now, for us at Brainiac, for example, I would most likely use a carousel. And the reason why I would use a carousel is because our process does not require our process, is something that can be done remotely. It doesn't really require, showing an assembly line. So if I'm a manufacturing company, the process requires a video because I can describe that effectively. Are we together? But then it also depends on the resources available to the content creator. For example, if you don't have a very good video person, right, you can use a carousel. Are we together? Because for you to describe a process with text, that means you are banking on the patience of the audience to read the entire thing. And believe me, you are going to find out that most people don't read. Are we together? Except if they are very interested, right, in the quality process of that thing. Are we together? So if I have an ingredient or a process kind of content pillar, I would be leaning to video first. If I can't use video, then I would use a carousel. But text would be my last plain text. I mean now would be my last resort. Now, within that, I can also choose to use an infographic or a motion video. If I don't have people to come together to shoot a video, I can use a motion graphic as well, or even use a cartoon. Are we together? But in video format, at least that would be the first priority. then depending on what resources are available. But my point is for you to understand the fact that not every content, you don't have to, you should not use the same content pillar, sorry, the same content format for every pillar. Are we together? You should not use that. You want to find out what works. I tell you, there's no pillar you want to come up with that does not already exist. It might not be called the same thing. It might not be called the exact same thing, but I assure you, someone has done it. So you want to find out, that means you want to do some research for your content pillar. Now, okay, this content pillar I've chosen, what formats work best for this content pillar? Are we together? What formats are proven to work best? Carousels, for example, work very well with educational, step-by-step, or list-based pillars. Text suits, text posts are better for opinions, commentaries, or even community-based pillars. Long form, right, or live should depth, credibility, and question and answer sessions, right? You can do a live, like an Instagram live. Are we together? Or a YouTube live, or a Facebook live, or something live. Are we together? The mistake most people make is to pick a format because it's trending. Are we together? You don't want to pick a format because it's trending. Now, not because, so they pick a format because it's trending, not because it's the pillar. So you don't want to pick a content format because it's trending. That's what I meant. Are we together? Not because it fits your pillar. So it's like doing a content format matching against a pillar. And the best way to do that is to do research. Are we together? Now, naturally speaking, Brainiac, before you suggest a pillar to you, does the research. Well, don't forget what I said earlier. The reason why we are doing the class is for you to know what to expect. And when you are getting something sub-quality or subpar, you also know. Are we together? So it's very important. It's very, very important that you are able to match this. You're able to match your content pillar with your content format. Very, very important. And that decision, meaning the justification, should be based on research. Meaning you want to check what works. You want to check what works. Now, what a franchise is a named recurring content format your audience learns to expect and return for. It's not a one-off post. It's a series with its own identity, a consistent lead, structure, and rhythm. I'm going to read that again. A content franchise is a reoccurring content. Are we together? A reoccurring content format that your audience has learned to expect and return for. It is not a one-off post, but a series with its own identity, a consistent lead, structure, and rhythm. Franchises turn casual followers into audience with a habit. They don't just see your content, they come back for it. So, let me give you an example of franchise. The weekly greeting that people do every Monday, that is a franchise type. Happy New Week. But guess what? What will determine if someone will come back for that kind of content or not is the execution. How many people want to scroll past? How many of you have gone to Facebook before or Instagram? And the reason you went there is to read Happy New Week. Now, why then do people do it? A lot of people do it just to make sure that the audience is seeing something about them. Now, that in itself, it has its place. But that in itself cannot be the strategy or the approach for engagement or any form of serious feedback from the audience, except if it is executed differently and uniquely. But I bet you that nobody goes to social media to read Happy New Week, except if it is done differently and intentionally. That means it's done with a new blend, something fun, depending on the company type, or something educational, something that they didn't come back because you greeted them Happy New Week. They came back because of how you did it or what you attached to it. So take, for example, let's say your Happy New Week is a giveaway content, for example. Trust me, people will come back every week. Guess what? It's not the Happy New Week that drew them back. It's something you attached to it. Are we together? Are we together? It's something you attach to your Happy New Week. So we can say that The weekly greetings is a form of content franchise. Hope this is clear. The weekly greeting is a form of content franchise. If we say, okay, we want to do, maybe I'm doing that now, for example, we have a series planned about AI and marketing, right? It's an educational content. So we want to do a weekly AI and marketing series for the next 8 weeks. And we're going to be releasing it every Wednesday. So that is an educational pillar for us, right? That we are turning into a franchise, right? For people to come back for every Wednesday. That means I can plan a whole launch around that franchise. For example, I can do something big, maybe something big is coming, maybe a video or a either a video shoot or a countdown video, just something to make people anticipate that we're starting an educational series about AI and marketing, and we're going to be giving XYZ offers if you wait to the end of the series, blah blah blah, just to keep people coming back. So that in itself is a franchise. Now, personally, whenever I'm doing a series, I always like to do a form of mini launch for that series. And I try to avoid doing multiple series at the same time. I try to avoid it. Are we together? Meaning I can do an extensive series and do like a mini series now, depending on what what we're experimenting with, or depending on what the KPI structure is, or depending on what we're really testing for. Are we together? So I'm not giving you a blueprint of how to do series. It can vary based on the brand, based on the objective, based on your KPI architecture. It could vary based on different things. But by now, you should understand what a content franchise is. It's a repetitive content that you do, right? A repetitive content that you're doing, a particular format that your audience expects. They are coming back for it. Are we together? So that means a franchise is attached to a content pillar and the content format done in a repetitive format over a period of time. That's what a franchise is. Are we together? And the goal of a franchise is to build an audience, repetitive audience, meaning they keep coming back for this particular content type. Hope that's clear. Hope that's clear. If that's clear, type 111. You understand what a content franchise is now? Type 111. So in practice, nobody typed 111. So I'm just going to continue. So in practice, what are franchises? For example, weekly Q&A. Okay, I think I got 111. Okay, awesome. Weekly Q&A. That's a content franchise. Are we together? A recurring slot where followers submit questions and answers, same day, same format, every week. Myth busting Monday. Behind the badge. Customer spotlights. That means, every week you are spotlighting a customer. This is done a lot by e-commerce, fashion brands. Now I'm giving you ideas also, where you are just appreciating your customer that, oh, this week we want to celebrate this customer, blah, blah, blah. This is what they've done. This is, we love them. And, a lot of times you want to collaborate with such customers. You understand my point? So these are just franchise example. Now, bringing it to the real world, right? The people that use this a lot, you see like a lot of comedians, people in the entertainment space, they use this a lot, right? They use this a lot. Every Monday, every Tuesday, you can almost predict and come back for that content type on that particular day. For example, let me use Taoma. She has the day she releases Quadri-based videos. So people on that day, they know that, oh, Taoma is going to release a Quadri-based video on social day. Are we together? So she has days for releasing videos about, where different characters are in the spotlight, are in the center. Are we together? So that's a franchise format. Are we together? That's a franchise system. All right. So let's carry on. Now, recognition plus anticipation. Recognition plus anticipation. Now, why franchise works? Recognition plus anticipation. Recall the interest graph logic from lesson 1.1. That's where we talked about interest, right? Interest of your audience. Considering interest also in your ICP. Our interest is also very important in your ICP. Are we together? Now, platform rewards content that earns strong signals, saves, shares, completion. A franchise builds anticipation. Anticipation drives exactly those signals. I'm going to repeat myself. What a franchise does is that it builds anticipation, and anticipation would drive exactly those signals. What are those signals? Saves, shares, and completion. Now you look at completion when it's video, that means how many people completed this video. You know that this platform will give you statistics about the watch time. You know, how many seconds or minutes people watch your video for. Are we together? So when the platforms, that's the algorithms, the AI recommendation system, when they notice that people are saving, especially saves and shares, people are saving this content a lot. It's going to help the traction of that content. So that means a lot of times, what you want to look at the most is not really the likes and the comments. It's actually the saves and shares. Because when somebody saves something on their social media, right, there is every possibility that they will come back to that content. And when you save, what you're telling the algorithm is, I like this content. I like this content. So it's going to increase, and it's going to increase, and the algorithm works based on priority list. It's going to move that content type from that brand up your ladder when it comes to recommendation. Are we together? It's going to move that content type from that brand up your ladder. So when your audience saves and they share your content, what it means, what they are telling the algorithm is, I love this content. So like is not what necessarily says they love it. It actually saves and shares. Because sharing it or reposting it means that they love the content enough to use their own social media integrity to repost it. Are we together? That's what it means. So a one-off post has to earn attention from zero every time. A franchise starts with a warm audience that already knows what it is and choose to keep following it. Are we together? What a franchise does is that your audience, they're not in zero land, meaning they've been following this series, they've been following this content type for a while. They've been following it. They know what to expect. Are we together? They might not know what the content is itself in terms of the what you are going to say in the video or in the carousel, but they know what to expect. I gave an example of how, the personal brand I was using as an example earlier of how we were doing this content for someone, and we introduced weekly real estate documentary. I think we did women in sales and real estate, because this person was a real estate person. So we're helping her to build a brand, a personal brand. So we introduced the content called Women in Sales and Real Estate, and we're doing it every week. And we did it for 8 weeks. And that content, I kid you not, was the most viewed content on our social media. And it wasn't even video. It wasn't even video. It was carousel. No, it wasn't carousel. It was text format. Yeah, it was text format. We did it as a LinkedIn first, kind of content, and then cross-pollinated it on Instagram. So if you wanted to read the full article, we put a link where you can go to LinkedIn to read the full article. That's what we did. And when we saw that people liked it, what did we do next? We did men in sales and real estate. And before we knew it, the woman now, after a while, she now took that text content and turned it to video, where she would go to a studio and record videos of those text content. So look at how it started. It started as weekly text-based LinkedIn articles. We will post a snippet on Instagram and Facebook, redirecting people to LinkedIn. Are we together? Then after about I think it was about because we did it 8 weeks. So that's about 4 months. After about 4 months, we then recycled and repurposed the same content and changed it to video content. Why? We already had enough data from about 16 weeks of doing that same content. And when we converted it to video series, people followed it even more. Because now, people that could not read the text, but they saw it, the same content was suggested to them, and they watched the videos. And you see how, so it's not every time, I need to create a new content, I need new content ideas. Sometimes you just need to look at what has been working in your franchise system and repurpose it. Are we together? And repurpose it because people have known that you are posting this. They are anticipating it. They are anticipating it. They are anticipating it. So let's carry on. Okay, so before I carry on, do we have any questions about this? Please let there be questions. There needs to be questions on this one. Concerning the franchise system, do we have any questions? If you understand it, type 111. If you don't understand it, type 222. You understand what I just described about the franchise system? Type 111. If you don't understand it, type 222. Waiting for us. You understand what I just explained about the franchise system? Type 111. You understand? Okay, I've seen 111. You don't understand it, type 222. Okay, thank you, Mr. Olumide. Thank you, Mr. Uta. You don't understand it, type 222. Okay, thank you, Ms. Christian. Thank you. Okay, so down to the editorial content design. So this is going to require some practical, but I want to try and leave all practicals till I want to try and leave all practicals till Saturday, actually. I want to try and leave all practicals till Saturday, actually. But okay, let's talk about it then. We'll do the practical. So this might be where I'm going to stop for tonight. So we're going to talk about it, and then we'll do the practical. That's when we look at the content studio. Please, if you are unmuted, could you mute yourself, please? You're unmuted, could you mute yourself? So I don't have to start looking for the person. Someone is unmuted, could you mute yourself? All right, thank you. Okay, it's not unmuted. All right, so let's go to editorial calendar design, where planning becomes visual, right? So this is your calendar design aspect. Now, because of Brainiac, you might not necessarily need to design a calendar. And also, you're still working on the feedback that we got from some of us, where we said that you want to be able to export your content calendar. So we are working on that feature, right? We're working on that feature. So why a calendar, not a list, right? Why a calendar? Because calendar is visual. Now, a lot of times people prefer to use Excel. If you use Excel, Microsoft Excel as a calendar here, can I see your hand up? You use Microsoft Excel for your content calendar, type 111. You use Microsoft Excel for content calendar, type 111. Let's expose you. Use Microsoft Excel, type 111. You don't use Microsoft Excel, type 222. If you are typing 222, state out what you use. Now nobody wants to say anything. No, we must clarify this part. If you use Microsoft Excel for your content calendar, type 111. You don't use Microsoft Excel, type 222 and say Google. Miss Christie said Google. Okay, Mr. Olumide says mostly Word. Okay. By Google, what do you mean? Is it Google Slide, Google Sheets, Google Doc?
Google Sheets. I'd forgot
It's the
the
same
sheet
thing as
had gone
Excel
out
now.
of my head. Yes.
It's the same thing as Excel. It's the same thing as Excel. Who else? Okay, I'm going to show you a calendar sample. Canva, okay? Mr. Patrick said he uses Canva. Okay, Canva is not bad. Okay, let me pull up a calendar sample. Let me try and see. Okay, let me pull this one. I think I've exposed myself. So those of us from Rwanda, you automatically know the chicken brand I was talking about, I was working with. Okay, so this is a sample of a calendar. It's now look at how this looks. Look at the caption and the creative. The creative. Look at the caption, creative. This is a video now. Hold on. Caption, creative. Now, if I were to send this to a client, if I were to send this to a client, what are the chances that the client would not understand what the content is about, than if I were to send the client an Excel sheet? I don't know if you understand my point. Having a visual calendar would always be better than a list text-based calendar. Because with a visual calendar, as a user, as a client, as the marketing director, I can see exactly what you are going to post, how you are going to post it. I don't know if you get my point. But when what I have is text, and then you attach a link where the creative is, guess what? I'm going to need to leave that page to go and check the link. It's a lot of moving parts, a lot of moving around. But when I can have everything structured on a deck style, right? Where I can see, okay, this is the um this is the content. Let me give you an example. Let me show you how Brainiac does it. Let me show you how Brainiac does it. Okay, so I want to come here to my social, and I come to now. Please, the content calendar is different from the content studio. We're going to look at this more extensively. We're going to look at this more extensively on Saturday, right? And then we would have done the feature you asked for before Saturday, so that we can look at it together. So on your calendar page on Brainiac, right? When you come to your calendar page, this is what you see. The calendar page is different from the content studio. Content studio is for you as the social media or digital marketer. Content studio is for you. Are we together? Content studio is for you. Calendar is for your clients. Your clients should not be seeing your content studio, except if you just want to share ideas. Now, that is for you to then take them to maybe in a meeting like this, you're sharing your screen, you say, okay, these are the ideas we have. You want to do a run through. Are we together? But what your client really needs to see is your content, is your calendar. So I think my network is misbehaving a little bit. So just a minute. Oh, it's my browser that is misbehaving. It's on. Just a minute. Okay. So I'm just going to continue while this loads. I think my browser, I have a lot of tabs open, a lot of softwares open. So I think it's dragging my system a little bit. Okay. So where were we? So you want to lean more on something visual, something that explains, what exactly the person is looking at. The caption on one side, the creative on another side, and the platform maybe on a small text. Are we together? Caption, creative, platform. This is still loading. Why? So the page on the browser is on. So sorry about that. Let me try and refresh. Okay, I think I'm going to need to close my browser entirely and then restart it. This is not even coming up at all. Let me try and close some of the applications I have here. So sorry for this. So sorry, so sorry. Okay, I'm trying to open the calendar so I can show you what this looks like. Okay, awesome. Okay, so this is what the calendar looks like. But what your clients should really be concerned about, what you should be showing your clients really, is just this part. Where as a client, for example, I can click on this and I see exactly, right? I can see exactly Okay, this is when this content is going live. For Tuesday, July 14. Time is 8 p.m. 8 a.m. Sorry. I can click on, okay, this is the caption. This is the caption. Nice. Okay, this is the creative. Okay, there's no creative attached. Why? Because this is the text post. Are we together? This is the text post. Okay. I come to the next one. So okay, this is for IG. I can see the caption. I can see the creative right here. Okay. And as a client, right, I want to be able to leave my comments. That okay, this is what I think about this. Is what I think about this. Are we together? So this is really the only thing your client cares about. So putting it in a text sheet, Word document, does not really do justice. Are we together? Excuse me. Does not really do justice because you would have a lot of back and forth. That's what I'm trying to say. You would have a lot of back and forth, a lot of back and forth, a lot of back and forth. Are we together? Because then, oh, when is the creative going to get ready? You have to send it via email or via WhatsApp, send it to the group. There will be a lot of back and forth. Are we together? You want to have your calendar in such a way that clients can easily look at everything on one framework, right? Definitely, what we are going to build for you to be able to send to your clients would not look like this in terms of all of these other aspects. It should be as straightforward as possible. We are going to build it and expect your feedback as well. But I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense, right? So if you've been using, I'm going to try and put the one I have in deck. I'll try and put it in a template and send it to you so that you can at least have that as a template as well. But what I'm trying to say is using a visual calendar is way better than a text-based calendar. Are we together? Using a visual calendar is way better than a text-based calendar. The client can see the pillar, you can see the content format, you can even view the content if it's a text, if it's a video, if it's a carousel, it's holistic. Let me put it that way. And feedback can easily be dropped on that content. Are we together? Change this here. And you can also reply based on the feedback, right? That's why we're even using Google Slides back then. You can also reply that, oh, this has been done. And the client is notified that this has been done. Are we together? So that is that, right? Concerning that. And once you have your calendar set, right, then you move to production. Once you have your calendar set, that means your content ideas that you want to post, they're ready, then you move to production, right? That is where you have your creative guys, your video guys, your graphics guys, where they're doing their own thing. Now, I'm describing a lot of theoretical things here. So on Saturday, we are going to be looking at the practical aspects of this. Are we together? So, do we have any question? I want to stop here for tonight. I don't want to go too deep into the practical part because that's actually the next thing, right? But do we have any question? We're going to look at the practicality of this, right, on Saturday. But do we have any questions? We are working on bringing in an external tutor, maybe during one of these days, maybe next week, to talk to us, teach us a little bit about copywriting, right? Teach us a little bit about copywriting. So we're working on that. I'll let you know how that goes. But it's something that we're going to do before the end of the course. We're going to, have a conversation about copywriting. Okay. So do we have any questions so far on what has been taught today? Let's start from there. Questions on what has been taught today. If you can hear me, type 111. I just want to be sure that we are still together. You can hear me, kindly type 111. Okay, awesome. So do we have any questions? Miss Christine, do you have any question?